Over half of the dwellings that Joseph has stayed in has been in the state of South Carolina, and he's currently working with the school to get permission to stay here at this dwelling on the historic horseshoe. Stress is a huge part of final exam week for college students, but both students and health professionals say that whether it's getting a little bit more sleep, eating healthier, or going on a walk, these little changes in your daily habits can help you mentally and physically. I'm out here on the corner of Washington and Barnwell at Hope in Christ Ministries. The director here was actually the man who found the victim shot last night. That's right, Tori. Tornado warnings were issued last night as the storms traveled up Interstate 85 throughout the town of Simpsonville, knocking over trees and damaging homes. There's not much wind out here, but there is still some rain. The rain will continue to pick up throughout the night and into the morning, but we should see some sunshine pretty soon. I'll tell you more next. Brown told me this is the worst weather she's ever experienced and is glad the city was given alert. There have been no serious injuries reported and cleanup in the area has begun. Live in the newsroom, I'm Logan Ellis. Millennials are the most tech-savvy generation of all time, and presidential candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton understand how important it is to get young Americans to the polls. Both candidates are actively engaging in social media, hoping to spread their messages and increase voter turnout.
I think it's an incredible shift in digital advertisement, digital outreach in this year's presidential election.
Now I feel like it's everywhere, with Twitter, with social media, with Instagram. You see memes everywhere, like you see people talking about everything that's going on. So it's just so easy to read up on it and know what's happening.
Over the past 4 years, the rise of social media has changed the presidential campaign game. The campaigns are interactive. Information is easier to access, candidates are more reachable, and are making their ideas more visible. But professionals believe that the two candidates are not taking full advantage of this opportunity.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure if the millennials will turn out because of social media. I think they're paying attention more because of social media. But unfortunately, this specific election and the two candidates who are the nominees are not reaching out to millennials the way they could. They're wanting to, but they're not being successful.
They've done everything they can to ignore them, to make them angry. They are not talking their issues. They're avoiding appealing to them.
And some college students feel the same way.
All the people that I'm surrounded by are really involved and really want to get their vote out there and want to become involved members of society. But they also feel frustration and don't really know who they would choose.
Candidates share all of their messages on social media in hopes of giving voters a full understanding of what each candidate stands for.
Just encouraging them that this is going to affect them for the next 4 years, and they're starting to learn what they truly believe in and how they are as people in college. So we need to vote for the person that identifies with our values the most.
Although young voter turnout is expected to be low, candidates will continue to use social media to try and get them to the polls. Logan Ellis, Carolina News. Thanks, guys. I'm out here on the corner of Washington and Barnwell at Hope in Christ Ministries. The director here was actually the man who found the victim shot last night. The director, who refused to be on camera, said the victim managed to escape the Hampton Court apartment complex and make his way to the church to seek help. The suspect's roommate, Carl Archie, said he was asleep in his bed when he heard the commotion outside.
I looked out the window first and I seen all the polices and the ambulance and stuff like that. So I said, let me go out here and see what's going on. Come to find out, some guys had a dispute about something. Don't really know what happened, but the guy ended up shooting at the dude 5 or 6 times, caught him one time.
The suspect fled the scene as the victim escaped to the church. Archie and his roommates were held by the police until the suspect returned to the scene.
Now be mindful, I just had moved in here yesterday.
Archie works at Nathan's Restaurant, which is right next door to the apartment complex, so he thought his new living situation would be convenient.
And I ended up being detained for 2 hours in the police cars.
Archie says he doesn't know his roommate, but he was told the suspect is allegedly wanted in New York for violating his probation. Although he was just detained the night before, Archie still made it to work on time and will continue to live in the Hampton Court apartments.
They don't usually have this much problems right here.
Archie says that he feels better now that his roommate is in jail. Logan Ellis, Carolina News. The Silvers are a happy family living in South Carolina, but the start of their family was a whirlwind of a ride, and it all started at the fair. Kevin Silver is from South Africa and was working as a carny at the state fair in 2012 when he met Miriam, a high school senior attending the fair with her friends.
I went to the ride that Kelvin was working on. It's called the Power Surge.
That's it, yeah.
And I met him, and I thought his accent was so cool. I actually took a picture of him and his friend because we thought it was cool to take pictures since they were from South Africa. I never thought that anything would happen. I just thought I was meeting a random guy.
A quick picture was all it took to spark Miriam's interest. A few weeks later, she found Kelvin on Facebook and struck up a conversation.
And I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, hey, I'm talking to a guy from South Africa. How cool is this? And I didn't think anything would lead to this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so much more than they could have imagined.
He only packed for 3 weeks thinking he was only going to come visit me, and then he just never went home. On Valentine's Day, he asked me to be his girlfriend, and we just went from there.
The two were engaged 4 months later, and now the couple has a 7-month-old baby boy. Miriam and Kelvin have gone back to the fair every year, but this year is special.
Every time I walk into the fair gates, I'm just like, this is the beginning to the rest of my life.
So that's why we took Aiden, our boy, to the fair to try and show him, even though he's so young, trying to show him and stuff like that.
Even though the ride they met on isn't in use anymore, the two still view the fair as holy ground and will continue to make it a family affair. Logan Ellis, Carolina News. Hello, and welcome to Carolina News. I'm Logan Ellis.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Abby McDowell.
First responders will continue to try to control the fires, and Code Orange will be in effect until midnight. Thankfully, the weather has cleared up recently, bringing some beautiful weather. Our weather specialist, Kelly Elliott, is at the State Fair with your first forecast. Kelly? The Ronald McDonald House Charities of Columbia recently moved from an 8-bedroom house to one that has more than 16 rooms for families to stay in. Along with the new furniture and appliance, one new addition is bringing joy to the families in the house. Here's Tori Moore with the story. Yeezus has arrived. Kanye West added 21 new tour dates to his St. Pablo tour, and Columbia is one of those stops. Kanye will perform at Colonial Life Arena on December 9th. Doors will open at 7 p.m. and tickets will be available starting on Saturday, October 22nd at 10 a.m. The USC men's soccer team is out of the Conference USA Championship after losing to Old Dominion in the quarterfinals last night, but they still await their NCAA tournament fate. The selection show will be on Monday afternoon, but the women's team is already celebrating. The team is the first in program history to earn a #1 NCAA tournament seed and got to celebrate when the bracket was announced on Monday. Newton and other newly elected members will be sworn in next year, and Newton says he is ready for older representatives to mistake him as a page. And Obama arrived in Athens on Tuesday on the first stop of his last scheduled international trip as president. On his trip to Greece, Germany, and Peru, Obama faces the task of reassuring U.S. allies in the wake of Donald Trump's election victory. That's right, Tori. Tornado warnings were issued last night as the storms traveled up Interstate 85 throughout the town of Simpsonville, knocking over trees and damaging homes.
Must be bad. I've been hearing lots of ambulances coming and going.
Simpsonville resident Alicia Brown was at home last night when she noticed her windows were shaking. She and her family took shelter in a closet to wait out the storm, then went out to assess the damage.
We saw a lot of trees that were down around the neighborhood on top of some homes as well. And so we also heard the big electrical box caught on fire, and that's what caused then the storage units, I guess, to catch fire because it was near it, is what we've been told through other neighbors.
Brown's neighborhood is a mile or two down the road from where they think the storms hit the hardest.
There's a subdivision called Remington. They said it's a brick home that has completely collapsed. So they believe that's where it actually touched down and did hit, and it wiped that out.
The damage is making it hard for people to leave or stay in their own homes.
You couldn't go through our neighborhood at one point in time because trees were on top of the roads. But yes, there's several on the house as well.
The power in Brown's area is still out and could be out until tonight. Brown told me this is the worst weather she's ever experienced and is glad the city was given alert. There have been no serious injuries reported and cleanup in the area has begun. Live in the newsroom, I'm Logan Ellis.